Hi, my name is Seema Kathuria, and today I will be providing an overview of CIS Control number 8, Malware Defenses. Before I talk about the topic, let me share a little bit about myself. I have over 15 years of experience in cybersecurity and technology marketing. I am an award-winning social media evangelist across cybersecurity and its intersection with humanity. And currently, I hold a senior product marketing manager position at Duo Security, a Cisco company, where I'm overseeing the secure access products. Previously, I was working at Microsoft, Check Point, and a number of other network and security companies. On the personal front, I fluently speak English and Hindi. I'm raising 2 children, and I enjoy traveling the world. I've covered 17 countries already. And finally, I enjoy singing, dancing, as well as have learned 3 instruments. Today, I will provide an overview of CIS Control 8, the definition, key requirements, and some examples of malware defenses. I will also talk about the risks of not implementing the control and the benefits of implementing it. I'll also share examples of tools of the trade available to help with implementing this control. Typically, malware enters an enterprise through vulnerabilities within an enterprise on enterprise endpoint devices used by users. It can be through email attachments, web pages, cloud services, even mobile devices and removable media increasingly. Malware often relies on insecure end user behavior, such as clicking links, opening attachments, installing software or profiles, or even inserting universal serial bus or USB flash drives. Modern malware has been designed to avoid, deceive, or disable defenses. Therefore, it's really important to consider some key implementation things. One is that malware defenses need to operate in a very dynamic environment through things like automation, timely and rapid updating of devices, and also integrating with other processes like vulnerability management and incident response to really have an end-to-end visibility and control over malware. Malware defenses need to be deployed at all possible entry points and enterprise assets to both detect as well as prevent spread or control the execution of malicious software or code. So all those things in consideration are really important when you're looking at implementing defenses. And here is a definition right from the CIS controls, that malware defenses will help prevent or control the installation, spread, and execution of malicious applications, code, or scripts on enterprise assets. At the end of the day, we need to reduce that impact that happens if malware is infiltrating the network and causing damage on devices and ultimately trying to even exfiltrate data. According to the latest version of CIS Top 20 Controls, which is version 8, launched in May 2021, malware defenses is considered control number 10, and the defenses are much like in their previous version. However, there's one difference. On the left-hand side, you'll see CIS Control is breaking down each of the requirements by CIS Control implementation groups, or IGs. These are the recommended new guidance to help organizations prioritize implementation, because no 2 companies are alike in terms of where they're at with their journey on really implementing these CIS controls. It's important to consider the basic cyber hygiene, which is part of implementation group IG1, which is a foundational set of cyber defense safeguards that every enterprise should be applying to guard against the most common attacks. Upon that, you can build as you can more mature as an organization and have more ability to implement and have the investment, you can build upon the previous implementation group 1 set of safeguards. That includes IG2 and IG3. Now, IG2 builds on IG1, and then IG3 will include all the CIS safeguards in IG1 and IG2. In particular, for malware defenses, on the top horizontal ribbon, you'll see that 3 of the 7 belong to IG or implementation group 1, the basic cyber hygiene requirements, and the others that are more advanced are part of IG2 and IG3, the remaining 4. Let me go over each of these different safeguards, the 7 in total from 10.1 to 10.7. The first 3, 10.1 to 10.3, are focused on the minimum implementation group 1 set of basic cyber hygiene measures to defend against malware, namely to deploy and maintain anti-malware on all enterprise assets, to configure automatic signature updates to ensure latest versions of malware are not going to infect devices, and 3, to disable auto run and autoplay. Fortunately, the automated execution type of functionality for removable media like USB drives or other, where possible, is built into the operating systems from Microsoft and Apple. Microsoft has Microsoft Data Execution Prevention, Windows Defender Exploit Guard as capabilities on the systems. Similarly, Apple offers 2 capabilities on its devices. So it's very advantageous for organizations to take advantage of the built-in operating system measures to defend against malware. The last 4 safeguards, 10.4 to 10.7, are centered around detecting and protecting against malware by taking a step further than the basic methods in IG1. These will require more effort by security administrators, but it is well worth it to really be able to tackle malware from all perspectives and looking at more advanced malware techniques as well that don't rely just on signatures. 10.4 is about configuring anti-malware software to automatically scan removable media, such as flash drives. 10.5 is about enabling anti-exploitation features on enterprise assets and software, such as those that are built into Microsoft and Apple devices. So again, fortunately, just like we talked about disabling auto-run autoplay, these anti-exploitation features are available as part of the operating system software. So that's a very great thing for organizations to take advantage of. The last 2 safeguards, 10.6, 10.7, are around centrally managing the anti-malware software to ensure systems stay up to date with the latest version of the malware signatures and implementing user behavior-based anti-malware capabilities. That will help prevent suspicious user activity. This is activity that goes up beyond just signature-based malware detections. Examples are a user logging into a system from a certain IP address or location that's unusual for that user, or activity like downloading certain types of files that may contain sensitive data, or numbers of files in volume that they usually shouldn't be by virtue of their role and responsibilities. And then the third, the possibility could even be a user attempting to use credentials that are not theirs to brute force into systems with some more malicious intentions down the line. So these kinds of detections are not available just from the simplistic kind of anti-malware measures, but you need more advanced end user behavioral analytics or EUBA type of capabilities to really help with these more advanced tactics that are really around the user behavior. When we look at the different software solutions available out there in terms of defending against malware, there are 2 big categories that come to mind. The first is enterprise endpoint security suites, as well as the second being the security information event management or SIEM solutions. The first one, the enterprise endpoint security, has built-in features that allow administrators to verify that antivirus, anti-spyware, host-based intrusion detection, or IDS features have been being actively used basically on every managed system. They can then use these softwares to run automated assessments daily and review those results to find and mitigate systems that have deactivated those kinds of protections, as well as systems that don't have the latest malware definitions, which again put them at risk of being infected. So it's really important to combine all these capabilities that are available in the endpoint security suite and turn them on. The second part is going beyond just blocking malicious applications that are part of the control is using SIEM solutions. There's a big focus here on collecting the logs to help organizations understand what happened within the environment and go beyond just the known signatures. It also includes ensuring logging is enabled for various command line tools like Microsoft Windows, PowerShell, and Bash. And as malicious actors are developing their methodologies, many are starting to take a live off the land approach, which is really taking advantage of existing tools and applications that are commonly used by users and organizations to minimize the likelihood of being caught. By infiltrating these kinds of applications and services with malware in a very low radar way and a way that's not easily detected by an endpoint security suite, it becomes important to use a SIEM solution that can log. The logging will make it much easier for an organization to follow the events, to understand what happened over time, why it happened, where is there a gap in their security posture that they need to go back and go and insert some defenses for. So really, in these 2 kinds of solutions complement each other. They're absolutely necessary when it comes to both the simplistic to the advanced malware types that are out there. Be sure to use both the endpoint security suite and SIEM solution to really have a strong protection against malware. What are the risks of not implementing CIS Control 8, or known as Control 10 in the latest CIS Top 20? The first is, if you don't defend against malware, you risk damaging or losing files from the computer. Because oftentimes what happens is the computer will get the virus initially from an email-based attack or some type of phish where that end user is being really not expecting that email to come in. It looks very deceptive. It's actually a very deceptive email that tempts that employee to click on a corrupted link. The link will then allow the virus or malware to enter the computer system and do damage, such as, in this case, damaging or stealing the files. The second risk of not applying malware defenses is the risk of losing sensitive information. Malware attacks can be used to exfiltrate data out of that system. A data breach is a result of an attack where criminals are gaining unauthorized access to a computer or network and thereby then stealing the private, sensitive, or confidential information. This includes financial information, personal information of customers or users, and so it really puts that business at risk. The third risk of not applying malware defenses is losing the control of those targeted devices or computers. A bot is a computer that's been infected with malware, so it can be controlled remotely by the hacker. That bot or that target computer, called a zombie computer, can then be used to launch additional attacks or become part of a collection of bots called a botnet. Botnets are really popular with hacker show-offs because the more bots they collect, the more mightier that hacker is. And so cyber criminals will often use these botnets to spread ransomware and really put organizations in a very precarious situation when it comes to getting back control of those systems. Botnets can include millions of devices, which is incredible, as they quickly spread undetected, so really under the radar. Botnets will really enable hackers to do and perform a variety of malicious activities, including distributed denial of service or DDoS attacks, including key logging to detect what a user is typing into their computer and potentially credentials, even trying to take screenshots of that victim computer or even access their web camera. And it's really up to the imagination to see what kind of damage can be done thereafter. The botnets are also used to spread other types of malware over time, sending spam and phishing messages to victims. So there's just a variety of really big things in terms of harm that can be done if a botnet were to happen and take place. So that the extent of damage is just left up to the imagination at this point. While we talked about the risks of not employing malware defenses, there are a number of benefits of employing malware defenses. The first is preventing data exposure or loss. Basically, keeping systems free of malware like spyware, keyloggers, ransomware will reduce the likelihood of data being exposed through those systems. Number two, maintaining data integrity by minimizing the threat from destructive malware that could alter or destroy forms of data, be it database records being changed, system files, configurations, user files, or even application code. The risk becomes not only now to the business because that application is no longer trustworthy, now that can have impact on their customers, their employees, on not being able to do work effectively and ultimately serving the business goals. So it's really important from maintaining data integrity and a trust perspective to really reduce risk of malware. The third reason for malware defenses is to enable user productivity. By keeping systems, devices, services, applications running optimally, it really prevents that system from slowing down, those systems from getting impaired and malfunctioning due to that malware. So ultimately, the benefit is higher productivity and low chances of malware risk. The fourth benefit of employing malware defenses is to reduce threats to legacy systems and high-risk networks that cannot be patched. It really helps because in some cases, these networks are just so outdated that it's just not easy or going to be fast enough to patch them. And so by employing strong malware prevention techniques, it can really help reduce risk. Here are some examples of tools and products available commercially on the market that you can actually try out in terms of endpoint security tools as well as SIM tools. It's really important, again, to take a very holistic approach and really assess the value of each of these solutions to your ability to be able to adhere to the CIS Control 8 malware defenses. Interestingly, the prices can vary, where endpoint security might be priced per endpoint device per month or per user per month. And SIM solutions can vary. They can vary in pricing either by workloads that are going to be assessed and monitored and logged. They can be by entity or data volume. So depending on how many logs and how many logged events will be logged in through the SIM. So it really depending on your specific organization size and the user base and the types of events, you need to go ahead and assess which kind of pricing model would work best. In some cases, these vendors also offer free trials, so it makes it easy for you to then actually try out that product in a way that would be much closer to what your real kind of experience would be with the product. So do check out those capabilities and options available to you. Here are some references used for today's presentation. And thank you so much for your time today.